everyone. I am Sujatha, Department of English, A.D.M. College for Rime, Autonomous, Nagapattinam. Today we are going to see the Rime of the Asian Mariners. The Rime of the Asian Mariner is a lyrical ballad, a poem written in the form and style of a folk ballad which is usually written by an anonymous person. The ballad is a narrative song poem, usually relating a single dramatic incident or stories in a form suitable for singing or rhythmical chanting. Folk ballads often have a sudden dramatic beginners or written in the form of a dialogue, usually between the narrator and the listener as well as between characters. The language is a simple, but there is a plenty of repetitions and use of archaic words. There is a sudden changes of actions besides a music and rhythms. The poem contains all these characters, hence it is a ballad although not a folk ballads. The Rime of the Asian Mariners analyzed. The poem is about how the Asian mariners ships sail the past the equators and was driven by storm to the cold regions towards the south poles. From hence she sailed back to the tropical latitudes of the Pacific Oceans. How the Asian mariners crucially act inhospitably, kill his seabirds called albatross, and how he was followed by many and strangers distressed, and also how he put back into his own countries. It is an Asian mariners. The first line of the poems is the poet command who introduced the central characters and old mariners. The poem thus begins arbitrary without any introductions, and the main characters of the poems, that is mariner, stop or detains one of the three wedding guests who are going to attend the marriage feast. When we come to the third lines of the poems, we are introduced to the wedding guest who is surprised by the strange mariner's audacity to stop him. This wedding guest noticed two striking features of the mariner's appearance. His long grey beard and his eyes is shining. The wedding guest is annoyed with the mariner for stopping him and asks him, "Why do you stop me?" or "Why have you stopped me?" He says that the doors are wide open. He welcomes the guests, and I am a close relative of the bridegroom's families, and my presence at the wedding is a must. He sees the wedding feast he been laid on the tables, and I can hear the happy sounding noise of singing and dancing. The merry din indicates the marriage festivities. The personal appearance of the mariner is gradually developed. In the first stanza, the poet gives us a little details about the mariner's long grey beards and glittering eyes. In the third part, a talk about his learn and his hand. In the stanzas, the mariners physically stop the wedding guest by catching hold of his hand. The starting narrating his story to the wedding guest, such as "These was a ships." However, the guest found in the very unusual strange to hold of his hand and say, "Let go of my hand, you old crazy fellow." The mariners at once lets go of the wedding guest, and because he knows he can hold his wedding guest attentions otherwise also. Now see poem lines. He hold him with his glittering eyes. The wedding guest stood still and listens like there is three-year child. The mariner heed his will. In the fourth stanza of the poems, the mariner cast the hypnotic spell on the wedding guest. That is, instead of holding the guest by his hand, the mariner now hold him with his glittering eyes, and a wedding guest on being hypnotized by the mariners listen to him, obstinate and helpless. The last line this stanza has two continuations. That is, the first one is the mariner succeeded in having this wedding guest listen to his stories, and second one is the mariner succeeded in the getting full control of the wedding guest by making him agree to listen to the story. The wedding guest sat on a stool. He cannot choose but hears. Thus speak on the Asian man's, the bright eyes mariner. In the fifth stanza, the hypnotist wedding guest sits on a stone. He is left with no options but hears the mariners who has hypnotized him with his glittering eyes. Since the wedding guest has been hypnotized by the Asian mariners, hence he is helpless and cannot exercise his own will. So he is compelled to listen to the bright eyes mariners' story of sin and suffering. The ship was cheered and harbor cleared. Merely did we drop below the kirk, below the hill, below the lighthouse and top. In these stanzas, the mariner begins the story like our friends and relatives have a cheerful send-off when our ship set sails. The ship sail crossed the harbor very quickly and entered the main sea water. The sailors sailed away happily, unaware of the disasters, and awaited the ships. They were merely sailing along with the ebb tide, and the ship sailed away from the coast, the church, the hill, and the lighthouse of the top of the hill disappeared from the sailors and views. The sun came up on the left, out of the sea came he, and he shone so bright on the right, went down into the sea. In the stanza, the mariner says that the sun rise on the left hand side of the ship. That means that the ship was sailing towards the south. There is a picturesque touch in the lines. The sun seems to rise from the set into the sea. The use he refers to the sun here when was rising from the seas. The mariner further says that it was shining brightly on the right side of the ships. There is also internal rhythms in the lines. The words, the end of the first phrase is rhyming with the end of the second phrases. Higher and higher every day, till over the mast at noon, the wedding guest here appeased his breast, for he heard the loud bassoons. In this stanza, the mariner says that the sun seemed to attain the greater height with the passage of each day, meaning that the ship was nearing the equators, and when the ship came to the equators, the sun was directly over the mast of the ships. The sun is at 90 degrees at noon at the equators. However, the sudden sound of the bassoons diverted the hypnotist wedding guest attentions, and he protested his forceful detentions as well as show his impatience and displeasures. And the bird head phase into the hall, red as rose is a sheath, nodding the heads before her hose, the merely minstrel. In these lines, the wedding guest, on recovering his consciousness, noticed the wedding ceremony had started. The bird whose face was as beautiful as a red rose was being brought into the hall, the accompanied of singer and musicians who were moving their heads as they were singing and leading the bird to the halls. The use of the words a pace is a more musical and poetic than walked and entered, and is suggestive of the bright, elegant gait, whereas the red as the rose is sheath, is a smile whereby the point through the wedding guest she is that the bird is as beautiful as a red rose is. The meaning of the minstrel is a body of a singer and a musicians who lead the bird to the hall. The wedding guest he beats his breast, yet he cannot choose but hears, and thus the speak on the Asian man's, the bright eyes mariner. Throughout the lines, the poet tells, despite all his protest, the wedding guest is not allowed to go. The Asian mariner continues to narrate his stories. This is because the mariner has hypnotized him, and now the guest has no options but hear the story of the bright eyes Asian mariners. And now the storm blast came, and his was tyrannous and strong. He struck with his overtaking wings and cheese as south lungs. In the stanzas, the mariner resumes his narrative by creating thrill and excitement from his very first line of the stanzas. The mariner says, "A strong sea storm rose." He, in the third lines of the stanza, refers to the storm. The storm has been personified as a very violent and fierce. The storm overtook the ship, was caught in its furies. It is to be noted the storms has been compared to a huge and swift bird of prey or winged monsters that pounce upon the ships is a prey. The ship was forcibly driven by the storm toward the South Pole. The next, with the slopping master, the dipping prose, and who pursues with yell and billows, still treats the shadow of his foe, and forward bends his head. The ship drove fast, and loud roared the blast, and southward we fleet. In these lines, the mariner sees that the ship was bent forwards by the force of the wind, going upon the downs the waves. Its forepart was often submerged into the waters. The ship looked like a person on the run, being chased by the enemy, who is shooting and posing with all his force. Just like a man running fast bends his head forwards, the front part of ships, the enemy is close, that his shadow is falling on the persons being chased. The storm continued to billows, and it quickly carried away the ships towards the South Pole. Then, and now there came both a mist and snows, and it grew wondrous cold, and ice mast heights came floating by as green as emerald. These lines continued the narrative of his story to the wedding guest. The mariner says that the ships reached the South Pole. Full of mist and snows, the cold was really unbearable. Icebergs as is high as the mast of ship were floating here there is in the sea. And the greenish reflections of the sea make the icebergs look like emeralds. And through the drift and snow cliff did scent and dismal scenes, nor shapes of men, nor beast we knew. The ice was all between. The mariner, through these lines, say that there were all around the drift, for example, floating ice, and the icebergs through the shining presented and sad and gloomy sight. He further says that we cannot see any human being or any animals in the cold regions as a huge mass of snow blocked off the views. The extent, the spread of ice all around the ships have been emphasized with the repetitions of the words like ice, here, there, and all around. And all, there was ice all around. The ice was here, the ice was there, the ice was all around. It crackled, the cravelled, and roared and hauled, like noise in swamp. The extent and spread, the ice all around, the ship have been emphasized with the repetitions of the words like ice here, there is all around, in all. There was ice all around. The words crackled and cravelled, roared, the hauled, they collectively convey their meanings through the sound they produced. The splitting of the huge chunk of ice, the sliding and falling into the sea, has been described here with the words. Besides, there is also a smile in like noise in the swamp. This means the noise produced by the splintings, icebergs, and such as the distant thundering and rumbling heard by a person in a fainting fit. At length did cross an albatross. Through the fog it came, as if it had been a Christian soul. We hailed in it God's name. In the part of poem, we are introduced to albatross, who play a pivotal role in the poems. Continuing his narratings to the wedding haste, the mariner says, after the constable's time, he passed an albatross came through the fog. The albatross is a very large, chiefly white oceanics and ice-winged, short bodies that has long and narrow wings, and it mainly found in the Pacific and Southern Oceans. The mariner considers and compares the birds Christian souls and hails in the God's names. It is to be noted the albatross was the first living being the sailors came across the regions of mist and snows, believing that it was just like them, a create of God. The sailors welcomed into the broad their ships. Its arrival lifted the spirit and brought them hopes. It ate the food its near had eat, and round it flew. The ice did split with the thunder fit. The hailsman street as a throw. Talking about albatross, the mariner says the sailors have its food. They were carrying them for themselves. The birds had never had such a food earlier, and it was a hovering of the ship because there was food there. The albatross cut the ice or iceberg and made a way for the ships. Then the ship started moving, and the sailor, one who is driving the boat, started steering the ships. The sailor, in fact, skillfully managed to steer the ship through the gap, and a good south wind sprang and up behind. The albatross did follows, and every day for food or play came to the mariner's hallows. The mariner further says that now a favorable south wind begins to blow from behind. The albatross was still following the ship, and who came and he sat on the mast or ropers tying the sailors to the mast. Every day it's responded to the mariner's call to take a food or to play with him, the other sailor on the boat. It mist or clouds or mast or shouts in preach for whispers nights, whilst all the nights through the fog smoke white glimmered the white moon shining. The albatross would come and sit on the mast or the sail at the times of the evening prayers. During these periods, the moon shone dimly through the smoke like white fogs. The atmosphere in the stanza is the sky was overcast with the clouds. There was a mist all around, even the nights were foggy. Peering through the fog, the moonbeams would be seen shining dimly. Let me tell you that words whispers refers to the evening times praying in the churches. Thus, whisper nights can mean the periods of 9 days. The 9 days are magical numbers of fascinated coldries, whereas the word shout here stand for the sail of the ships. God saved these Asian mariners from the fronts, they plague these thus. Why look those souls? With my crossbow I shoot albatross. In this stanza, the Asian mariners looked terrified. They waiting the guest God to showers mercy on the and protect him from devils and tortured him. He asked the mariners why he looked thus. The mariners simply replied, I shoot the albatross with my crossbows. The Asian mariners as wantonly killed the innocent albatross who had brought a new hope to the sailors and whose arrival coincided with the billowings the south wind. It was a criminal to kill a very creatures who had brought the turning point from the better in their lives. The sun now rose upon the right, out of the sea came he, still hid in mist, and on the left went down into the seas. In the second part of the poems, the Rime of the Asian Mariner by the A.D.M.COLLEGE, the weather has completely changed. The sun has appeared, although there is still the thick layer, the mist in the air. Earlier, it was a foggy and mystery only within no trace of sun in the sky. The poet has used personifications. The sun is treated as a human being. The mariner says that the sun now rose out of the seas on the side of the ships. It was hidden in the mist all days. In the evening, it sank into the sea on the left. It set in the west. And he puts out a wind still below behind, but no sweet birds did follow, nor any days for food or place came to the mariners' hollows. The favorable south wind still blows, pushing the ships northwards, but the sweet birds that used to came to the every day either for a food or play, them no more follow them. In the second lines, the stanzas, the birds has all sweet, because it was innocent birds of good omens. Sweet also convey the guilty feelings the Asian mariners finds himself in the killing the birds. There he regrets the killings the fellow sailors called the birds to feed into and to play with it. Many of them were callings by force of the habit, though they knew that it had been killed. In the lines, nor any day for food or play, day and play rhythm with each other. And I had done the hailers things, and it would works M.O. For all over I had killed the birds that made the breeze to billows, and rich sit they the bird to slay, that made the breeze to billow. Please mind here that I, in these lines, is the Asian mariner, while they or his fellow sailors or the shipmates of the Asian mariner condemned the actions of killing the albatross. They said they had done devilish thing and it would be bringing the misfortunes. They said that he had killed birds of good omens that had passed by favorable wind billows. The declares the mariners wretched being the having killed the albatross. The hailers thinking done by the mariner in the stanza is that he had wantonly killed the albatross and innocent birds, good omens, whose arrivals has coincided with the billowing of the south wind. Due to the commissions of the hailers think the ship got struck in the middle of the hot, the sultry silent sea, with no waters to drinking and no ray of hope to brighten them up. They went through a lot of physicals and mental agony, nor dim nor red, like God own head. The glorious sun oppressed. Then all aboard I had killed the bird that brought the fog and mist. It was right, said they, such a birds to say, that bring the fog and mist. But now the bright sun rose neither dim nor red, but luminous and glorious like the hallowed head of God. The sailors declares the mariner had done the right things by killing the birds that had brought fog and mist. They said that it was right that such a birds that brought a fog and mist should be killed. The use of simile, the first line, the stanza, the round sun looks like the head of God. The sun has been described the glorious because it shines brightly. brilliantly. It is a brightness stanza is in contrast to the dullness of the recently spent days. This stanza also shows the two contrary views of the sailors who earlier had condemned the killing of the birds as sinful. But now the approves of it. The sailor shows that there are opportunists and fickle-minded. Their attitudes reflect upon the immaturity of the mind. The fairy breeze below, the white foe flew. The furrow followed free. We veered the first that overburst into that silent seas. A favorable gentle wind blows. The white foam flew off the surface of the oceans. The ship sailed onwards calmly, and the take made by it was clearly visible. It seemed to that they were the first people who had come to the silent seas. There is a use of alliterations in the first two lines of the stanza. There is a repetition of F and B sound, which created a musical effect besides conveying the ideas of the smooth and swift gliding movement of the ships, whereas the use of word pharaohs illustrate a metaphor in the stanzas. Behind the ship due to the forwards the movement, the line the pharaoh followed free suggested that ships sailed on the smoothly. Down dropped the breeze, the sail dropped down. It was said that as said could be, and we did speak only a breath, the silence of the sea. The wind stopped blowing, the sail too dropped. There was a complete silence all around. It was very sad situation. The eric silence of the seas was broken only the sailors' talks. The breeze had stopped the billowing because the albatross wrongful killing had begun to show its effect. The Asian mariner and his fellow sailors are about to be punished for sin. It is to be noted the lines in the para create an atmosphere of eric silence and absolute inactivities. The atmosphere leaves the sailors full of suspense, fear, and uncertainty. All in a hot and copper skies, the bloody suns at noon, right up above the mast did stand, no bigger than the moon. The sky looked like a heated copper. The sun looked blood red. Even at noon, it stood vertically above the mast and looked as small as the moon. Again, there is a use of a metaphors in the stanza when the poet says a hot and copper skies and the bloody suns. The sun is a blazing red and scoring hot. It is also blood red in colors. Hence, has been called bloody suns. To the sailors, the harsh weather signifies that they have to face and suffer under these types of the weather due to the sin of killing of albatross. It is a part of punished by being subjected to the lines or tailboat location of the ships. The ship is on near the equator because the sun is a very harsh and it's a vertical angle at noon. The phenomena that occurs in the equatorial region only. Day after day after days, we struck nor breathe nor motions, and ideal as a painted ships upon in painted oceans. The ship remained struck at once a place day after day. I did not move because there was neither wind nor tide. It just like the pictures of the ships on the sea. The Asian mariner and his fellow sailors on a broad the ships were struck in the middle of the silent seas, and they were brought into the conditions because the mariner had drifted to the silent sea, but there was neither wind nor tide. Hence, were the standard that it It is a graphically describe the features of the becalmed ships on a silent and still oceans. Hence, it is very apt and is a repetition convey the sea's length of the times of the sailor ships was struck upon the middle of the oceans. Water, water everywhere, and all the ports did sink. Water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. The mariner says that though the ship was surrounded by the water all sides, yet the very border of the ships began to crackle and sinks because of the excessive heat. There was in the midst of so much of water, but there was not even any drops of good drinks. These lines have the repetition of the W sounds, while the repetition of the lines water, water everywhere. The significance, the peculiar fate the sailors had to face, although there was a surrounded by immeasurable amount of the sea waters. They had not a drop of water to wet the parches a mouth. The repetition gauges the extent of the mystery, and the sailors have not yet drops to drink because of their supply of fresh water was exhausted and they simply could not drink the salty sea water. The very deep did root, O Christ, that ever this should be. Yeah, slimy things did travel with legs upon the slimy seas. The sea itself began to root due to the movement in the wind of the waters. Very repulsive sea creatures would be a sea traveling, whether the ugly lakes on the seas and slimy blue like a water of the seas. It was a horrible sight to see. The remark of the Lord Christ should save everyone from the frightened situations. A very deep here refers to the seas, which was a stagnant, where and full of stench. In these lines, the Asian mariner invokes the Christ because the invocations convey the Asian mariner's deep sense of the agony and repetitions and having killed the albatross. Now only the Christ can have a rotting and sinful soul. There is an element of the irony in the invocations while the Asian mariners seek a Christ help to save his soul after committing the sins of killing a Christian souls. For example, the albatross. About in reel and road, the death fires dance at night. The water like a witch oils burn green and blue and white. Death fires shone and hovered all about them at night. The luminous light appears to the dancing and wheeling around the ships. The sea water burnt like oils burnt by the witches emitting multicolored lights. This stanza has simile in the last two lines. It refers to here's to the three witches in the Shakespeare's play Macbeth. The water seems to be a burning with the crackles, sparkles of many colors. The elements of supernaturalism here prepares for as for what is true that follows. The reel and rout through the actually is a type of dance movement. Here they describe the movement of the death fires and the flames, while the death fires represents evil force or death. And some in dreams assures was of the spirit that plague as source. 9/4 deep he had followed us from the land of mist and snows. Some of the sailor had a dream that the spirit was evenings the death of the albatross and had been following the ship from the land of mist and snows. It had been moving out the wild 9 fathom deep in the waters. It is to be noted that some has been used for the follow sailors of the Asian mariner. In the very first lines, while 9 fathom deep means the fathom, that is a measures of deep equal to 6 meters. Thus, the polar split was followed the sailor 54 meter under the water. Please noted the Goldrich operations with the numbers of 9 is again evident here is it was a chase of Vesper 9 previous in this poem slide. And every tongue throughout the utter trot was withered at the root. We could not speak nor more than if we had been choked with shoot. For utter want to water, the sailors' tongues dried upon at the very root. They just could not speak. They felt as if their throat had been choked with shoot. There is a use of metaphor in these lines. The comparison is between the dry and dihydratic tongue and the root of a plant which have weathered due to lack of water. How will a day, what evil looks had I from old any ink, instead of the cross, the albatross about my neck was hanged. The sailor looked at the mariner accusingly. They could not speak, but their looks revealed the contempt they felt from him. They removed the cross found around his neck and hanged the dead albatross. There is a punishment his evil did. The point is, our mariner here says, instead of the 3 crosses, the albatross was hanged around the neck because many Christians wear the cross around the neck as a protection against the evil forces. The sinful soul of the Asian mariner needed a cross to save itself. The sailor instead hanged the dead albatross around the neck as a mark of his sin and guilty. This stanza again shows the change and the attitudes of the sailors towards the death of albatross. The first they condemned it by the saying that the albatross was a bird of good omens. It has made the praise to billows. Later, on the approve of his killing and had the responsible for the fog and the mist. The once again they cursed the mariners for making their lives miserable by killing the albatross. Thank you.